There is no edition of No Stoplights worthy of being called a breaking news edition, a special edition, but this is about as close as we get. We threw this together in short order. We're in the middle of a kind of a weather event, not a hurricane, but a tropical storm. There was a lot of warnings about what to be prepared for. I contacted a good friend of mine, somebody who is, I was a great friend of his father, a good friend of him. I'll get to him in just a second. But once again, who are we to say that we're worthy of a special edition or breaking news? But this is about as close to that as we can possibly get. I want to thank our sponsors, whether it's a special edition or not. McLeod PLC Commercial Real Estate, Pepsi of Florence, McCall Farms, Marlboro MPD Electric Co-op, Victor's Micky Finn's, Carolina Bank, Francis Marion University. All those fine and local companies have agreed to support our building of a podcast that we believe will eventually become kind of a news outlet and debate some of these very serious issues about our community. So I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, all of these really good and decent enterprises that have made a commitment, not to no stoplights in essence, but to the community and our desire to become kind of a gathering place and debate some of these local issues. Once again, I want to go back to what I said a second ago. It isn't breaking news. It isn't a special edition, but it kind of is. The county did some things yesterday in preparation for today and tomorrow's weather that some people had questions about. And I sent my good friend, Chairman William Schofield of County Council, a text. And I said, hey, man, what went into the decision of deciding to do a curfew and some of these other things they decided? He immediately called me, and we had about a 10-minute conversation where he explained the decision-making process to me, a former council member, good friend of the family, but also a concerned citizen and a person that many look to provide accurate and relevant information. William agreed at the last moment. I mean, it's raining cats and dogs outside. The wind's beginning to blow, but he felt it important enough to come on the podcast. We'll edit this in short order, get it out and about. But Councilman and Chairman of County Council, William Schofield, has agreed to sit down with us for a brief period of time in this special report of No Stoplights. Good, I would say good morning, but good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Afternoon. I'm doing okay. A little wet, a little soggy, but
well, and I want to thank you for this, and I mean this sincerely, because I had questions. You answered my questions last night, but I want you to answer the questions of the general public as to what you felt your responsibility was as chairman of County Council, and what went into the process of making these decisions on behalf of the county.
Sure. I appreciate you just taking the time out to have me up here this afternoon in the midst of this storm, which, majority of the day today, we were just kind of looking around outside like, dang, is this thing even going to do what we've all been told that it's going to do? But on the way here, it sure broke loose on both of us. There's a lot that goes into, council making a decision like what we did yesterday. I mean, this isn't the first time that county council has done that. There's been many times before that the county council has done this and declared a state of emergency for the county. But council as a whole doesn't mandate whether or not there's a curfew. It inside of the proclamation, it gives the authority to the county administrator, the emergency management director, and the county sheriff to make that call if necessary. But we all are given information every single time that it has become available for us to review it and look at it, and so we get to see things sometimes that the general public doesn't get to see. But when everybody hears, oh, the county declared a state of emergency, that doesn't mean that there's this huge natural disaster immediately right now outside. Governor McMaster will declare a state of emergency, that just so that the resources can be allocated to the proper channels without having to, let's just say on the county level, call back every single council member to have another meeting on the same topic, but to allow something to happen. This gives a general purview of control for them to manage this disaster, and we thought it was prudent to be able to do that. based on all that intel that we had been given, and were some of us hesitant and wanting to do it? Of course we are, but we also don't want to be hesitant with someone's life. I mean, if this saved one person's life, this whole thing is worth it. There's no question about it. Public safety is paramount with me and with council and with the county staff and government. So, I mean, they bring this information to us and said, hey, we need to be doing this. And all right, well, let's start calling the councilmen, get them together, and get this meeting lined up, and let's do it.
William, let's explain I know and you know, but most of our viewers don't know, and listeners, in a council administrator form of government, the county council is the governing body. The administrator, he runs the day to day. I mean, he is the, you guys write the music. He's the orchestra leader. He convinces these sections to play the right notes and tunes. So ultimately, the county council passed a proclamation declaring an emergency. The administrator will facilitate.
The administrator, the emergency management director, and the sheriff, they work in a tight three group during one of these to make those decisions. So
what sort of input? I mean, you talked about you guys getting information, sure, and you got to make a decision based on not what you know, but what we believe may happen. You don't run law enforcement. You don't run emergency management. Nope. You don't run first responders. I mean, the administrator serves at the pleasure of county council, but what sort of interaction would normally happen when a county council makes a decision? How much communication are there with weather experts, with law enforcement, emergency management, and first responders?
Well, I mean, we get updates from them every 4 to 6 hours, I believe, and it's from the National Weather Service, and then they have their own call meetings with them periodically throughout the day, updating them on conditions, and they conference back and forth. I mean, no different than how I shared with you some of the National Weather Service river flood predictions earlier today. And that's provided for everywhere in our area, not just right here inside the PD. So you got to read that info and try to read between the lines for our area, what's going to be the impact. That can be tough, but they're doing a fine job at it, and I couldn't be more happy with them.
Well, and the one thing that you said to me last night in our telephone call was that the benchmark, your words, not mine, the benchmark was the 2015 flood. There was concern 48 hours ago that this could be very similar. We hope not, but you got to prepare for the worst. That you felt, and some of the weather experts, emergency management, law enforcement were preparing for an event benchmarked on 2015, and that got everybody's attention. Fair enough.
Fair enough. When we got told that the benchmark would be the 2015 flood, I mean, my first train of thought is to think about 52 being completely submerged. And that this storm is different than Matthew. Okay, we've had this rain in waves and in different bands where we've had a lull in between each. But and Matthew, it was just straight saturation. We had rain for a good period before it, and our ground was already saturated. But we had the winds already right out the gate. It stayed with us for a little while, but not as long as this one has. But the thing that concerns me the most with this storm, Ken, is that we're getting rain. We're already oversaturated from 2 weeks of rain. The rivers have already risen to high points that have everyone concerned of them breaking their banks. Okay, but so we're having these bands of rain come in, and then we have these lulls where it stops. Well, during Matthew, it was a lot. The ground couldn't absorb it that fast, so it was running off and into our infrastructure where the infrastructure was good enough to pull it. It was shedding that water. Now this water's sitting in a yard and sitting in on the sides of the road and actually soaking into the ground, and the ground is absorbing it. So my biggest fear now is that these little breaks that we're getting is allowing this rain to actually soak up into the ground. And you're familiar with pine tree just like I am. They're small, shallow root balls that are tight knit. If this ground gets too saturated, the trees will begin to fall. So that's still a major concern with us, and it's something that we have to continue to look at. That is a huge possibility of happening over the next 24 to 36 hours. These river levels are going to continue to rise after this storm is gone. I mean, that just because it's raining here doesn't mean that water upstream isn't going to keep coming down. But they're talking anywhere from 25 to 40 mile an hour gusts. Well, I think Matthew was 35 or 40 mile an hour winds. And if we've gotten enough of these gusts coming through, my concern is that we will start having some of these trees fall. The sheriff and all them felt that it was necessary for that curfew, and I'm gonna back them on it. I mean, I trust those guys with my life. They're not going to do something that's going to hurt us, and they're not out here trying to shut businesses down. It is merely meant to curb unwanted nighttime driving that's just someone out going for a pleasure cruise looking at storm damage, etc. It's not meant to curb people from going to the grocery store, going to a restaurant, or going to their job, or coming home from their job. That's not what this is about. This is to protect people that are aimlessly driving and in the dark, where there's already low visibility, where it can be hard. The county is big. The city of Florence has streetlights. The county doesn't have streetlights everywhere. You're not going to see a large body of water sitting on a county road. And if you're coming up on it in the middle of the night, you could hit it and get in a bad accident, or a road could be washed out and you not see it. And so safety for our citizens is just paramount. And we're really trying to make sure that no one gets hurt during this storm.
Is it fair to say that in a declaration, in a declaration of emergency, you can't say it only applies to this part of the county or that part of the county? I mean, I'm from the country, sure. That. So if you live in a pristine and developed subdivision and you've got plenty of stormwater runoff, I mean, okay, you're wondering and scratching your head why the need for the declaration. But if you live on a dirt road or out in a rural area, it's fundamentally different.
Yeah, say you live on Lynch's River, or say you live over there on Black Creek, or over by Quimby, or by the Country Club of South Carolina, right where these bodies of water break their banks. I mean, we can't just subject one little section of the county in these little areas. Now, these different municipalities could, but they didn't. So it is up to us to protect all of the citizens in the county. That's our responsibility as the county. The county as a whole, not one town, not one city, but everyone. And we want to make sure that everyone is okay and that they make it through this storm the best that we can.
Am I accurate in assuming, be careful assuming, but am I accurate in estimating that law enforcement, emergency management, first responders, the weather experts, Marlboro MPD Electric Co-op is a sponsor of this show, the power companies, your administrator.
They just posted a photo of them clearing out trees with over 500 residents out of power.
Correct. Okay, but it's not your job to micromanage those county agencies. No. It's not your job to every 20 minutes call weather. That's the administrator's job. And when you guys want to know something, as duly representatives of the people, they voted for you guys to be in charge. The information you get is the correspondences you have with the administrator.
Kevin Yoakum, our county administrator, has been outstanding during this. He sends us briefing as soon as he gets them. So that allows us to review it, to know what we're dealing with, what's going on, what kind of action does he need for us to be able to take for him to do his job better, or the emergency management director to do her job better, or to help the sheriff get resources that he may need. I mean, they had already had the high water vehicles staged. We already had a team from Tennessee down here staged for swift water rescue. I mean, all of that was done in such speed. But I am so proud of the way this county has responded to this. They have not hesitated. They have moved. And it is with thanks be to God that we have a crew that does the things they do the way they do.
Last question. You mentioned as well, I hope you don't mind me disclosing this, that in some of the debate and internal conversations of council, it was not unanimous. I mean, there was some dissent about why don't we do this? I would expect that. You've got 9 council members.
It wasn't a not unanimous decision. Everybody wanted to be able to protect everybody, but there are questions about a curfew. I mean, and how that's going to be enforced. and what's it going to do? I mean, so yeah, there was conflict in that. I mean, we're a body of 9 people. We're not always going to see everything the same way.
And you represent different regions of the county that are dealing with different sorts of problems.
Correct. The storm is affecting different areas of this county differently. Every single district is getting affected differently right now.
Your priority is public safety.
Yes.
I mean, it's not doing the most popular thing. I argued this morning on the radio show, William, that some of this is driven by litigation. You know, certain government agencies are afraid to not go above and beyond for fear of, well, I mean, you didn't close these roads and you knew these roads were unsafe, and now we've got a terrible tragedy. Why didn't you? I mean, you guys have to. I don't have to, but you have to err on the side of caution. Is that a fair representation?
Yes. I mean, an ounce of prevention, Ken. I mean, my father, you know, just growing up with him and how he would do things. You know, we grew up in that hardware where, you know, storm preparedness and disaster awareness was just this huge part of us. And I mean, that's why you were sitting there. I mean, right after he died and after his funeral, you were talking on the air about, I bet you James Schofield's up there with the good Lord right now talking about how we can fix this stormwater runoff on this gold paved road here. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's something I grew up with.
It's in your DNA. I know it. It's in your DNA. You had no choice but to be that way.
I want to be able to help people. I mean, that's the biggest thing, to make sure that everyone is okay and to be able to provide the resources so that the team can do that.
Very well explained. I appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you long. We got layers, and what did Forrest Gump say? It's raining sideways. It's raining sideways out of here. I just felt it was important and appropriate to get Chairman Schofield in here in real time today while we're debating what should have been done, what should have been done. Look, nobody believes that you got to be careful about tyrannical government more than I. I mean, I've got a reputation, and I don't deny it. I don't shy away from it. William's been a good friend of mine. His father was a great friend of mine for many, many years. And when I sent a text last night, he responded, told me some things that satisfied my ability to explain to listeners on the radio show why. I just felt it important for me not to relay the message, but rather him say it in the first person. I'm not the chairman of county council. He is, and I certainly appreciate your willingness to, at the last minute, in real time, come to those stoplights and share that with the public.
Of course. Anytime.
Okay. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Double thank you for a special edition of No Stoplights. Francis Marion University, Carolina Bank, Micky Finn's, Victor's, Marlboro MPD Electric Co-op, McCall Farms, Pepsi, Florence PLC, Commercial Real Estate, and McLeod Health. Without any of these, without the sponsorship from these great and local companies, the feeble attempt at podcasting that we normally do wouldn't be possible, nor would some of these very important and informative podcasts. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll talk sooner than later.